Hello and welcome back. Number 3, we at it again. Let's talk about weather. So the other day we're riding. Oh gosh, where was it? Um, Somewhere, and I just remember I'm going up this road, climbing and climbing and climbing, trying to get to this trail, and all I could think was like, I hope it doesn't rain, because in Colorado in the summer, every afternoon at 3 p.m. precisely, and not a minute before, will determine whether or not you're going to have the greatest thunderstorm in history or the hottest, most driest day in the world. I cannot emphasize this enough. Every day at 3, there is always a signification of it's about to rain super hard, and hail and softball sized hail is going to destroy all the cars within a mile radius, or you're going to have a really nice afternoon. So you never have anything in the middle. It can't just be cloudy, of course. Why would it? So we're there, and climbing and climbing. Finally get to the top of this trail. I'm within 100 feet of this trail, and I'm so excited. I haven't done it before, and I just see the sky flash brighter than 1,000 cameras in my face, and all I can think is, I am literally on a lightning rod of an aluminum bike right now. If I don't get off this thing, I might die. So I start hammering down as fast as possible. Thank God I have a fender on the front of the fork, because when the ground gets wet out here, it's not dirt. It's like this weird, almost kitty litter like substance that's these tiny pebbles. It's like you're on a beach, but like the reddest beach you've ever seen with bushes. And this stuff just hits you in your face every time you ride. So I'm hammering down, rain's going sideways on this road, and I finally just ditch the bike and leave. And I'm on the other side of the road from the aluminum bike, and I can feel the hair on my arms start to stick up because of the static electricity in the air. And I'm just waiting. I'm like, okay, when is the closest lightning strike going to be? And then it happens. So I'm on the top of this mountain on this access road, and probably within 5 minutes of me getting off the bike, this giant lightning strike hits the other side of the valley, and it's a deafening sound. If you've ever been close to lightning, you know what that sounds like. It is terrifying. But once the lightning finally stopped and then the rain continued, I finally get down the road, and all I can think is, let me just get back to the car. I got spare clothes in the trunk, and I'm just going to change, and I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A, and I'm going to treat myself, right? Shouts out to Chick-fil-A. Spicy Chicken Deluxe. Let's go. So I get to the bottom of the trail, and I still have like 5 miles before I get back to the car. And it's raining sideways. I mean, it is hauling down, right? And the wind's like 30 miles an hour. Loving it, though. And here's why I love it. I feel like there's almost something quite, what's the word here? Almost like barbaric about being stuck in the rain when you're riding, especially when you go downhill. It sucks uphill. It's one of the worst things in the world. But when you go downhill and you've got all these debris flying off of you, and you're sopping wet, and you can't see out of your glasses, and you're just trying to get down, you're splashing through the puddles, and everything is just mucky and muddy, and nothing makes sense. I feel like that's one of my favorite times to ride. You get to ride up in the dryness. You don't have to worry about losing traction. But when you're going down, nothing makes sense. And I think that's the beauty of riding in the rain. So I've made a point to, if after work is the only time that I have to ride, which is pretty often for me these days, I'm going to make a point to jump into that rain and just have so much fun with it, which is nice for most of the city. There's only a few spots in the city where I would say the trails get like clay-like substance, where it just sticks onto your tires, and it eventually just destroys your rear triangle of your frame and your down tube, and you're not happy, right? Nobody's happy. But for everything else, it's amazing. So I'm excited. So that's how we start today. Talk about some rain here. Welcome. Happy to hear from you guys. Happy to talk to you guys today. It's been a minute. I like to do these a little more often than I'm doing these now, just with being busy all the time and running around like a chicken with his head cut off. So I'm happy to finally have a chance to sit down and just chat it out. So a couple of things I wanted to bring up today. I had a friend of mine talking about cars. So one of the things that I also obsess very vigorously over is vehicular devices. And so it's my buddy's bachelor party the other night. and we are out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. It's the Airbnb, just having the time of our lives. Everybody's all quarantined, so we're all good to go. We're in this little friend bubble we got going on. And the best man rents out a Tesla. Yeah, he totally went like brains blown out, balls to the wall. He got the Model 3 with the dual motor, the whole kit and caboodle. I had never seen a Tesla before. I mean, I've seen them in the road, but I'd never actually been in one and gotten to experience it. So we just go lampshade on the head, party all night. And the next thing in the morning, as we're about to leave, my buddy goes, "Hey, let's all take turns in the Tesla. Let's see how fast it goes." I'm like, bet. I got a hybrid. It doesn't even matter to me, right? So we jump in. I'm thinking this car is not going to be as fast as everybody says it is, because it's an electric motor. You think, whatever, right? And nothing's going to happen here. JK on that one. Holy cannoli kit and caboodles. This thing goes 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. Now, if you don't understand what that means, and you can't really wrap your head around that acceleration, just imagine if Darth Vader put a force choke on your chest. That's how hard this car pushes itself into acceleration. So nearby, we've got the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb Race that just took place last weekend, right? And I used to work on Pikes Peak for a while, and I loved it because one of my favorite things to see was all the cars going up and down the road. This is before COVID, obviously, and they would have some of these cars that you've never seen before. I mean, we're talking prototype Porsches, prototype Acuras, cars from the 60s that are adapted to race, and all of these things just look like spaceships, right? So one of the things about the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb is, now that the record has been set, you cannot physically beat the record with a car that runs on an engine. And let me explain what that means. So the last record that I'm aware of was when, what was his name? Romain Dumas, whatever his last name is pronounced. He had this prototype Volkswagen. Little tangent here. I don't know if you guys remember, but Volkswagen had a huge lawsuit about maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, where all of these diesel cars were programmed to do a certain miles per gallon ratio. And then after the testing that the EPA did, they were like, well, let's just turn that switch off and do the actual. And it was something ridiculous, like a 10, 15 mile per gallon difference. So Volkswagen got caught and had this multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. Okay, so that's where we start. And then Romain Dumas is in the Volkswagen team. And his car is this big Le Mans prototype, giant, long-bodied spaceship of a car, and it runs on electric motors. I think it was kind of a PR stunt more than anything, but Volkswagen wanted to show the rest of the world that they could also run on electric motors that didn't produce any emissions, right? So that's kind of their way to say, we've evolved. We're better than the last time you checked in on us, which was when we had this giant lawsuit and had to get rid of a ton of cars. So anyways, Romain Dumas takes this car up the hill, and they were afraid of people not being able to hear the car because it's electric, that they put a giant siren on it. So if you watch the highlights, it's just this car that sounds like an ambulance trekking up this 14,000-foot mountain. It is one of the coolest things to see. So he breaks this record and does, I think it's 14 miles of racetrack. Don't quote me on that number. Maybe 12 miles of racetrack, 100-something turns. You're starting at 8,000, 9,000 feet of elevation, and you're jumping all the way up to 14,000 feet. And he does it in 8 minutes or 9 minutes. And he's like, done, throws in the keys, good to go, right? The problem with combustion engines is when you're at the top of a hill, let's say you're at 7,000 feet of elevation, which is what we're at right now. Combustion engines will actually lose power because there's less air, there's less oxygen in the air. So the car can't suck in as much air as it needs to produce a proper fuel to air ratio. In other words, it doesn't get as much power because it's higher up in the air. So anyways, one of the problems with combustion vehicles on the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb now is the higher you go up, the less power you have. So unless you have this amazing tiny engine that can produce 3,000 horsepower, which will probably not happen in our lifetime, you're never going to be able to beat an electric car's record. So let's go back to the Tesla. Holy cannoli, that was a tangent. Um, One of the greatest things about these cars is not only can you drive for hundreds of miles on a battery, this thing on the heads-up display is a completely different beast. It's almost like you're driving your iPhone. And that is one of the things I love about these Teslas is I went in thinking, I'm going to hate this thing, right? I'm a car guy. I like this. I like that. This Tesla's going to be stupid, whatever. No, man, you get in and you're like, this is pretty pimp. Okay, all right. The whole wood dash. You got no buttons, no physical buttons except for the horn and the pedals, I guess. Everything else is on this giant iPad of a screen, and it literally has like a battery indicator instead of fuel as to how many miles you have left to drive this thing. It was intense, man. It was so cool. So of course we're romping it up the hill, trying to get as fast as we possibly can, and this thing is low to the ground. I'm talking like maybe 5 or 6 inches, right? Which sounds like a lot, but when you put half a Subway sandwich on the ground, you'll see just how low I'm talking about. So of course, we go for a hike. We get it stuck in the dirt because the dirt's got a big dip in it. And this poor guy, the best man gets it parked, and it's like right next to a tree. And you know, when you're downhill and you're parked, when you put your foot on the reverse, when you try to go to reverse, you'll go forward for just a little bit. So we had to cover the tree with sweaters and blankets and lining to make sure that he didn't hit the tree and scrape up the rental Tesla he just borrowed. Oh, good times. Good times. Gosh. If you get bored, comment and tell me what your favorite bachelor or bachelorette party memory is. I love to hear those stories. I love just the broness of it all. You know, just the hanging out, the friends just catching up. I haven't seen these dudes in 2 or 3 years. They're all college buddies, right? And you know, I seen the main guy who's getting married. I seen him recently, but everybody else, it had been like stepping into a time machine. I felt like I was back in 2015. It was awesome, just broing it out. And one of the things that I realized just being in there was, you know, how little people change when they're in their element. And I think that's something that I've been kind of struggling with the past couple of months is like, you know, everything kind of changed when COVID hit. I moved. I kind of had a lot of different friend groups. So everything that I had known pre-March just immediately fell on its head after the 16th, which was the day that Colorado shut down officially. So I moved in with a couple of friends that I was getting really close to, and, you know, starting to develop that, that long relationship kind of mentality that you start having with people. And since then, I've just been having this weird, almost social anxiety of, you know, you want to be funny, you want to be fun to be around, you want to be helpful at the house and help take care of the dogs when it's necessary, all that kind of stuff. And I think what had happened was I just turned into this ball of anxiety and stress for so many unnecessary reasons. And I think, you know, the bad side of that is you're not being true to yourself. And a good friend of mine kind of reminded me that the only thing that you can do every single day and not want to kill yourself afterwards is to be yourself, is to be who you are and just be honest, you know? And that took a lot. I think when I was growing up, being yourself was almost kind of looked down upon just because I was a hyper-ass kid and I talked a lot and the teachers couldn't stand me. My coaches were like, why are you talking to me? Like, you should be swimming right now. I'm trying to coach you on swimming. And I just talk his ear off about whatever I could because I'm a people person. You know, that's why I'm doing a friggin' podcast and talking for 15 minutes at a time. And, you know, going back to the bachelor party, I took that advice that I got from my friend probably about a month ago now. And I just turned it on, you know. It wasn't even like a fake thing. It was just second nature. Just be you, be silly, be funny, whatever you got to do, and just enjoy the time that you have with these friends. Because I think we all knew in the back of our minds that aside from the wedding, right, this is going to be the last time that all of us really get together and kind of bro it out before all of us start to get married and have kids and all that good stuff. Now, I'm not married. And that's one thing that I'm very thankful for because I'm still very young and very stupid. But my friend who is getting married, he's the nicest guy, and I love him so much. He's a brother, he's like a brother to me. And these guys, I remember in college, I was so nervous with being around these guys because I don't know. It's just one of those things where you want to fit in, you want to be part of the crew, you want to be funny, and you want to be seen as a really good friend. But at the same token, like, you got to be you, because that's who they're gonna like at the end of the day, or choose to not like, right? So it felt good. It felt really good, and I had to talk about it because it had been so long since seeing these guys, and I just remember the last time that we got together was, it was harder for me. And I think now that we've all kind of grown into our own bodies and our own selves, and we've established the people that we surround ourselves with, we were really able to just kind of let loose and let things kind of fly and let things just be the way they are. So if they're listening, shouts out to everybody who was at that bachelor party, man. Love you guys to death. That was so much fun. Very thankful for the people that I surround myself with. Very thankful. Excuse me. So, gosh, what else can be said today? I'm so grateful that it's not the winter right now. I couldn't imagine going through everything that's happened, all the clocks that timed out and everything that we have to face today. I'm just so thankful it's at least warm outside. I couldn't imagine doing this in 3 feet of snow, man. Good God. So we're starting to close up here, and it's September now. Holy cannoli, it's September. The fall boots on the chicas are already out, and the pumpkin spice is in the air, and everybody's getting ready for those leaves to change. I'm excited. Dang, I'm excited. Last year I was doing a half marathon in Aspen. It was called the Golden Leaf Marathon. Yeah, dude, just the most beautiful spot in Colorado you could ever ask for in the fall. I mean, we're running, and I remember having this specific thought. I'm running, and it goes from Snowmass to Aspen. So they drop you off in Snowmass. You run kind of into the mountain. You don't have to summit, but you run kind of with the mountain. So it's all like, it's not like perfectly flat. It's just ridged the whole time. And then you go down into the valley of Aspen, and then you'll end there. So anyways, they call it the Golden Leaf Marathon for obvious reasons, right? It's the time of the year where all the leaves change on the aspens. And especially in Aspen, Colorado, it's named as such because there's a giant aspen grove. I don't know if it was the one that we were in, but there's a giant aspen grove just outside of the city that is probably, I want to say it's 6 miles end to end. And it is on record the largest aspen grove in the state of Colorado. The only one that beats it is one in Utah. I forget where it is, but Utah and Colorado share kind of the same geography, so to speak. So it's easy to have all those, right? So anyways, I'm running this half marathon. Sorry. I got to say half because if I say the marathon, I'm going to get my head bigger and then I can't fit into my bike helmet. But I remember running through, and all these beautiful golden leaves are just everywhere. And at least 8, 9, 10, 11 times, I'd be like, that's a really good spot to propose to someone to. Man, oh no, I think this one's a really good spot to propose to someone to. And I just keep running and thinking, oh man, I got to save that for later. Oh, I got to save that for later. So no visits to that area this year, ladies and gentlemen. No, your boy's not getting married yet. Still got some time. Still got some growing up to do. But what I do know is if that day does ever come, I tell you right now, that would be the spot to do it at, especially if we're still here in Colorado. So anyways, shouts out to Aspen, and shouts out to the Golden Leaf crew who made that race so much fun and so enjoyable. I did that one with my dad and my stepmom. That was really cool. That was last race I did since the Pikes Peak Marathon. That one, whew, talk about a race. I mean, they did it this year, and we just got rid of all of our haze, like not even a week ago, and the entire state was on fire, right? Not to mention the entire southern side of California was on fire, and Arizona. Shouts out to everybody who's on those fires. And all the smoke, the way that the wind pattern made it, it just all went into the Front Range of Colorado. So thanks for that, everybody. But the marathon continued to go. And you got to give it to these people, man. I mean, so I have friends that live kind of in that valley where the race starts, and I just remember looking at the mountain thinking, there's no way they're going to do this race. You're going to get the black lung if you go on these races. Sure enough, you know how it is. You got that mentality of I'm going to do it. People who are disciplined and have no fear, they do it. I forget his name, but he did it. The guy who got the first time this year did it in like 3 hours and 30 minutes. If you know anything about running, you know that 3 hours and 30 minutes on a flat paved marathon is impressive. To do it while going up 8,000 feet and down 8,000 feet on a trail while you're already starting at elevation is incredible. It's insane. It's so amazing. And all I could think of was just like, how are these people doing this? You know, what is the discipline that it takes to get up every single day and train for these races and practice a good cadence, right? Which means the amount of times you run, like the amount of times you step in a minute, let's say. So anyways, I'm thinking about these people and how disciplined they are and what their diet must be. And I'm talking with my buddy the other day, and you know, we're talking about like big time mountain bike people who ride, right? Men or women. So I'm a huge fan of the UCI World Mountain Bike Championships, particularly the cross country. So there's two. There's the Enduro World Series, which is like the kind of mountain biking that I like, where it's like up the hill, you're not timed, but then you go down a stage, and you get like anywhere from 4 to 8 stages in a 1 to 2 day program, right? So those are the races I do. And then there's this is going to be what they call the good old days when they finally end. I'm telling you guys, if you're not watching this, you got to check it out at least once or twice. I mean, you know, they're not doing it too much this year, but last year, the highlights of these races and the sheer just competitiveness of these races was so amazing. And what I'm referring to is the Women's Cross Country UCI Championship. Shouts out to Yolanda Neff and Kate Courtney and all those girls riding hard as can be, because holy cannoli, it is impressive. So anyways, man, you think about these people and just the amount of discipline that it takes to be that good at this sport. So my buddy and I are chatting about it, and I tell him, I'm like, gosh, you know how it is. You're like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. She's so good. She's so amazing at her sport. And he was like, hey man, don't meet your heroes. Don't meet your heroes. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He's talking about Mikaela Shiffrin lives out here in Colorado. She's like the pro skier of the United States. She'll probably take every gold medal for the rest of her life until she retires. She's so good. And I was like, we're talking about Mikaela Shiffrin, and he goes, you don't want to meet her, right? Because if you see her on the Instagram, she's a great role model, right? She practices every day. She trains every day. She obviously takes care of herself. She eats well. She works out. She gets enough sleep, all right? He goes, but she won't go out for a beer. She's not going to be the one to go, let's go do a freaking cake stand this Friday. Let's get crazy. She's not going to be the person to do that because she's got to go to bed. And she's probably got 1 week off in the fall between skiing the Alps in the summer and doing competitions in the winter. And I'm like, you know what? That is a great freaking point. Do not meet your heroes. Oh my gosh. I think about it too, like with football. So getting less and less as I get older. I think I like hockey and basketball are a lot more appealing to me these days. But when I was a kid, all Denver Broncos, right? Everything Denver Broncos, everything John Elway, everything Peyton Manning, the Jay Cutler days, the Joe Plummer days. Who else, man? Like Kyle Orton for a little bit. I don't even know who's playing now. Drew Lock, I think it is. Anyways, I think of like those days, and I remember being the biggest fan of Champ Bailey. What's up, number 24? Holla. And I used to think like, you know, I want to meet him. I want to go to a Broncos game. I want to shake his hand. I want to, you know, toss the ball with him, see him catch an interception live would be so cool. And then we had that conversation, my friend and I. Don't meet your heroes because they're going to be a lot more boring than you think. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't meet your heroes. Oh, man. Well, on that note, I'll wrap it up here, and I'll say a couple little things I wanted to say earlier. You know, for those of you listening, this is only number 3, and I don't know if this is going to get bigger. I don't know if I'm going to put this on Spotify, whatever the plan is. I don't have a plan. I think more than anything, it's just nice to get all the thoughts out and be able to share them with you guys. Because more than anything, the people who do listen are always the ones that care. And the people who care are the ones that you want in your life. So, I just got through this whole tirade talking about don't meet your heroes. But for those of you that I have met, and those of you that have been so motivating in the last couple of weeks, especially since August started, just want to give a big thank you to everybody and appreciate you guys listening and supporting everything that's been going on with this podcast. And to tell you that it's not going to stop anytime soon. I got some ideas in the works and some plans going on, and I'm thinking I want to get some video going here pretty soon, more so with the mountain biking stuff and the riding aspect. But for now, just know that I'm super thankful for you guys, and I'm going to keep doing this. And I think it's a good idea. It's what I wanted to do for a long time now. So I'm thankful for everyone who is just clicking the play button right now and appreciating whatever it is that I'm rambling on about. So thanks to you guys. Thanks everybody who's listening in. I'll talk to you guys next week.